Welcome to day number 1. In this course, what we're going to be doing is a little bit of work on a whole bunch of different areas of our body, and we're going to do some of the same movements, but we're going to slowly alter through the 7 days that we're doing these exercises. So we're going to do a little bit of exercising, a little bit of stretching, and a little bit of self-massage, and hopefully at the end of the week it'll culminate in things feeling a little bit better for you. So what we're going to focus on today is going to be entirely based in the chair, and we're going to be doing mostly stretching, and a lot of that is just to get a little more of a feel of exactly how our body is moving. For future reference, if you want to do some really aggressive stretching, or you want to push it pretty hard to try to improve your range of motion, or you just enjoy how it feels, I'd recommend that if you're going to go really hard on a stretch, that you're warmed up first. And I just mean physically your body temperature is a little higher. That is just usually going to make things a little bit more flexible, a little bit more pliable, a little less stiff. So that just means a little bit of exercise, like maybe a little bit of a walk, or it could even mean a warm shower or a hot tub or a sauna, something of that sort as well, before you get into an aggressive stretch. What we're going to do today, it's going to be a stretch that's not horribly aggressive, just going to ease us into the 7 days that we've got coming up here. So the first thing that we're going to work on is at the very top. It's going to be our neck. So what I want you to do is to get into your chair, sit nice and upright, and I don't want you to be supported on the back of your chair for the most part. I'd like you to be just with your body straight up. You're going to try to have the top of your head up towards the ceiling, so you're going to be nice and tall. And because we're up nice and tall, it's going to be a little more limited on our range of motion. But from this position, what we're going to try to do is act like we're taking this ear up towards the ceiling. By taking this ear up towards the ceiling, all we're going to do is use the opposite side hand, so our left ear and our right hand, and we're just going to pull a little bit. So I don't want you to pull down. So I don't want you to take your hand and pull like this. What I want you to do is to take your hand and pull up that way. So you're just kind of grabbing above your ear. You're pulling up that way. So you're going to be above your ear or behind your ear. Most of the time what I'm doing is I'm putting my ear right in between my ring finger and my middle finger, something of that sort, and just pulling up here. The tendency is going to be to pull down. I want you to make sure you're nice and upright. You're just pulling up and over like that. So get into that position right now. Give it a little bit of a pull. You should feel a little bit of stretch along the side of your neck, maybe a little bit in the back, maybe a little bit in the front. For most people, this is going to stretch a little bit up closer to the back of their skull, sometimes a little bit more along the side. As long as it's just a little bit of a stretch for you, that's entirely fine. Good. So when you're done with this, I want you to slowly ease back out. So what we don't want to do on any of our stretches is bounce out of them fast, and we don't want to push out of them really quickly. You don't want to release really quickly either. So a lot of the time I'll see people that pull and they all of a sudden let their hand go and things spring back. Every time we're in and out of a stretch, what I want you to do is slowly ease into it and slowly ease out of it. That means the actual range of motion of what you're stretching should be slow in and out, and the pressure you're using with the opposite limb is usually also slow in and out. So the next thing we're going to do, same thing on the other side. So I just want you to get nice and upright again. Take your other ear, aim it straight up towards the ceiling, and you're going to take the opposite side hand, put it right above or behind that ear, and you're going to pull up and over. And in this position, try to take a couple of breaths and let your shoulders drop a little bit. It will usually intensify the stretch a little bit, which is entirely fine. So some people are going to find that if they turn their nose towards the ground a little bit, it'll stretch certain things. If they turn their nose up towards the ceiling a little bit, it'll intensify other things. But for most of us, just ear towards the ceiling and nose straight ahead is a great place to start. Good. Now I want you to slowly ease out of that one as well. Good. And maybe you roll your shoulders a little bit to kind of ease off that movement. The next movement that we're going to do is going to be a stretch for our shoulders. So when I say shoulders, I mean where our arm sits in our shoulder socket right up here. So a lot of the time, the thing that gets really tight in our shoulders is actually the back of our shoulders. A lot of people get discomfort and a little bit of pinchiness or soreness in the front of their shoulders, but usually the tight part's actually the back, and that's where we're going to stretch a little bit of what's called our shoulder capsule. So in order to stretch that, all we're going to be doing is a simple cross body stretch. So what I want you to do again is get up nice and straight. You're going to take one arm, you're going to put it as far as you can across your body, and you can use the other hand to pull it in tight. So you can change a little bit how you do this. You can put your palm up towards the ceiling and pull in that way, or you can put your palm down towards the ground and pull in that way. And it depends how far you're going to pull what you want to do with the other arm. So for me, that range of motion is perfectly open, so I'm going to use my other elbow and pull across this way, which should give a big stretch along the back here. So what I want you to be able to do is to find a way that you can turn your arm higher or lower palm up, palm down, that you can pull across your body, that we're going to try to get mostly a stretch across the back of our arm, maybe a little bit in the front and a little bit down here as well. Okay? So get into that position now. With me, I'm going to use my other elbow. It's just a little easier to hold on to. And we're going to hang out here for just a second. So if you feel like you're getting a little bit of a stretch, but not much, one thing you can do, the shoulder that's being stretched, you can actually pull it down towards the ground so that you're using muscle to pull it straight down, and you should get a little bit more of a stretch in the back of that shoulder. But if you're getting a good stretch to start with, don't feel the need to push it. Good. So now, same thing. You can slowly ease that one off. Maybe shake the arms out a little bit. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So take the other arm, get it across the front of you. For me, again, I'm going to use my opposite elbow because that's a little bit easier for me. And you're going to pull. Good. And if you want to, you can take that shoulder and push down towards the ground. That'll intensify it a little bit. Make sure you breathe. Good, and then let's slowly ease that one off as well. So as we go through a lot of this, you may have been able to hear that out of me, maybe not. You're going to get a lot of popping and clicking out of your joints. Just know that's entirely normal. It could be your knees, shoulders, elbows, neck, wrists, all of it. That cracking and popping, it's entirely normal, regardless of your age, regardless of when it happens. That little bit of clicking that you get, doesn't matter. We can just move on past it. The next thing that we're going to be working on is the forearm muscles. So there are a lot of different ways that people get really tight through the forearm muscles, and it tends to happen a little bit more with people that do a lot of work with their hands. So having been a chiropractor for the last decade, I've done a lot of work with my hands on people, and you'd be not surprised to find out a lot of chiropractors and physical therapists and massage therapists get a lot of problems in their forearms. And so it happens a lot with people that do things like a lot of cross stitching or even washing a lot of dishes or doing a lot of housework as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a stretch for the inside of our forearms. This is where a lot of those gripping muscles come in, right in here. So the main way that we're going to do this is with a straight arm. So if you do it with a bent arm and you do a stretch here, most people are going to get a little more compression in their wrist and a little more of a stretch down by their wrist. What we're going to do is we're going to have our arm straight out with our palm straight up in front of us, and we're going to use the other hand to pull straight back like that. So for the most part, we're going to do fingertip pressure here. You don't need to push down on your actual hand. I'd prefer that you push down on your fingers themselves. We're going to keep elbow straight, and we're going to pull up like that. So I just want you to hold there for a second if you can. Try to keep your elbow straight the whole time. And if you want to intensify the stretch a little bit, you can try pulling the fingers a little more towards the inside. Same thing, just make sure that you keep breathing. Hold on to that. And then when you go to let it go, we're just going to ease off the fingers with our other hand and slowly bend our elbow. Good. You can shake that out. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. We're going to take our fingers in this hand and we're going to straighten our elbow while we pull those fingers back. And if you want to intensify it a little bit, you can turn your fingers in towards the midline a little. And the same thing applies as before. If you want to intensify it a little bit, you can actually bring your shoulder down. But that might cause a little bit of nerve discomfort in some people. It might cause you a little bit of a nerve stretch. So don't push down too hard on your shoulder. But if you feel like it's helping a little bit, feel free to push down a little. And then we're going to do the same thing to ease off here. We're going to ease off on the fingers and bend our elbow to let ourselves out of it. And again, we can shake out the arms. The next movement that we're going to do is kind of a global movement for all of our spine. So our spine actually has different parts of it that do different things. Our neck does something different than our upper back, does something different than our lower back, and they're actually designed to do different things. But something that all of them are designed to do just a little bit and tend to get really stiff with is twisting and rotating. So over time, what we're going to do is just a little bit of twisting and rotating for our spine. And a lot of the time, people find it hard to do unless they have something they can use to wedge themselves in place. So for the most part, I'd actually prefer that you do this on a chair or somewhere that you can hold on to so that we can twist ourselves a little bit. And what I'd also prefer that you do is try to not have your hips do all of the work. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be reaching behind me over to the side of this chair here where I can hook my thumb on it. And then I'm going to use my other hand on the outside of this leg, and I'm just going to twist and pull like that. So if you have an armrest, you can pull on the armrest with one arm and you can press on the back with the other arm. Or if you want, if you have an armrest, you can just grab onto it with both of your arms and pull this way, or we can pull that way. So get into that position now. Try to get nice and tall and upright. Try to get yourself into a position where you use both hands on the outside of a thigh or an armrest. If you have the ability to hold on to the back of a chair and you have the mobility to do that, I'd encourage you to do that as well. One of the easiest things to do is to grab onto an armrest with one hand and the back with the other hand, and then you're going to pull yourself into a twist. Okay? So get into that position now. Once we're in that position, what I want you to do is to look straight over to the side and start taking some big belly breaths. When you do that, you'll probably feel some stretching in some pretty unique places throughout your back and your rib cage and your abdomen. And that's exactly what we're looking for, is to get a lot of those muscles a little more stretched out. Good. One more big breath. Good. And then when we're done here, same thing. We're going to slowly ease our way out of it. Back to neutral. Wiggle around a little bit. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So you're going to take one hand, cross it over to an armrest or the outside of a thigh, and the other hand on the back of your chair if you can. And we're going to twist as far as we can get. And then start taking some big breaths. Don't be surprised if you feel it completely differently, one side to the other. Most people will. I feel this in an area where I once had some broken ribs, only on the left, not on the right. And on the other side, I felt it in my low back. So it's going to be a little different side to side. And one more. Once you're done that breath, again, slowly ease back into the center here. Good. Then we can shake it out again. So the last thing that we're going to do for today is going to be a stretch for our hips. So a lot of people are going to have pretty tight hips, especially as we age, they tend to get quite a bit tighter. So if you can't fully do this movement, just feel free to do an altered version of it just to get a little bit of a stretch wherever you can. So what I'm going to do is called a figure 4 stretch. And all we've got to do is take one leg, put it right on top of the other. If you have the mobility to be able to pull this all the way up, feel free to do that. But if you don't have the mobility to get it all the way on top of your knee, then you can probably straighten the other leg and just get it on top of your thigh this way. So from here, all you're going to do is hold on to your foot, either on the tippy toes or just above the ankle with one side. You're going to lean back and you're going to push away on the other side. So I'm pushing my knee down and away from myself while I'm just making sure my whole leg doesn't slide off using the other hand. So I'm going to lean back and push, and same thing. You're just going to make sure that you get a nice deep breath in this position. So you're going to want to make sure that you're not pushing too hard on this. This is really easy to wedge yourself into place depending on your range of motion. But we want to make sure that we don't aggravate any hip issues. So just make sure that you're pushing to your tolerance, but no further than that. Good. And then slowly ease off on that side. And we're going to try to do the exact same thing on the other side. Going to take one foot, cross it over the other. I'm going to hold on right here above my foot. I'm going to lean back. I'm going to push just into that leg. Good. And we're going to do another few breaths in this position here. Good. And then same thing. Let's just ease that off ever so slowly. And we can put that leg back. Take a breath. That's it. We are done for day number 1. Starting on day number 2 and onward, we're going to change a few things at a time, and we're going to start doing a little bit more self-massage and a little bit more exercise as we go. See you tomorrow for day number 2.